The eve of Valentine's. Hayley, you've already seen some men in the wild collecting their flowers and their cuddly toys.
Oh
It
yeah.
looks like tomorrow's going to be a good day.
In cross hands anyway. If you live in cross hands, you're gonna have a good day.
Yeah, if you live in Cross Hands, you've been rumbled, mate.
So any of you men were seen in that shop in Lidl's earlier in cross hands? Yeah, I saw you.
You have been found. Lex, look, we're talking. It's Galentine's night tonight, so if you're out and about with your girlfriends, having a little sing song in the car, whatever it might be, I hope you're having a lovely time. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, and it's Singles Appreciation Day on Saturday because we love a national day.
Maybe.
maybe. And well, where we've just been talking about relationships and about the pitfalls of modern relationships, pitfalls of modern dating. It's quite a world out there at the moment, and well, we want to turn our attention now to a little bit with how we can have wonderful relationships with ourselves. And we want to hear your thoughts on this. We're live on social media at the moment. You can contact us on the WhatsApp 01437 764455 on the PWR app. Or you can email studio@puristradio.com. And I'm going to start off with, I'm going to jump straight in there, Hayley. Shashi Singh got in touch. Any processes to do with self-love? And I know that we've already alluded to this when we were talking about relationships, that we mentioned it quite early on, is that how can you have a relationship with someone else when you don't fully appreciate the relationship with yourself?
Yes, brilliant question. Why do we not teach it? Why are we not teaching self-love? You know, I say this all the time. We send children to school to learn about geography, English, maths, Welsh, science, and all the rest. Then we send them to college to learn about whatever speciality they want to learn. And then we send them to university to get a little bit of knowledge in that speciality. And then we kick them out and do life and say, go be happy. Go and enjoy life. But how do you know what life is? Because nobody's taught you what a happy life is, what a joyful life is, what a fulfilled life is, when nobody stopped to teach you about who you were.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like it's something that we should just know, doesn't it? It feels like, well, we grow up, we're born, this is who we are, but it's so much more complex than that, annoyingly.
It really is, because yes, it does feel like you get to adulthood and you think, I'm sure I'm supposed to know what to do here. I'm sure, all these years I should know. But actually, if you've never been taught, how will you know? So I think the self-love, we need to be more of placing more emphasis on self-love as children are growing up, so that we can learn to appreciate our flaws, our perfections, our strengths, our room for improvement. But yet we don't teach people that. We tell them when they've made a mistake. We tell them when they're getting it wrong, but we're still not teaching them what to do to like who they are.
Yeah, actually celebrate who we are, celebrate our individualism. Like we started off the show playing Chapel Roan with Pink Pony Club, which is about, actually, I know who I am and I'm going to spread my wings, I'm going to fly and I'm going to sing at the Pink Pony Club. And as the song very much says, going against the mother's wishes to find ourselves. And I suppose this is where it can be very difficult to balance your self-love, particularly if you're naturally an empathetic person. Do we start living our life through the lens of someone else to not hurt feelings? And is that okay?
Well, we are doing it. I think a lot of us are doing it. That people pleaser is a strong character. When you're trying to make everybody happy, there isn't any room to make you happy. But we don't tell people it's okay for you to make yourself happy. And actually, it's not only okay, it's essential. It's essential you invest in yourself, because when you love yourself, your external world changes. Your external world reflects what's going on inside.
Mm. And I suppose it's that balance then, isn't it, of how can we let those opinions of other people, how can we let them go to actually be who we are and actually flourish?
And I think we have to learn to not take on board other people's opinions, but unfortunately society tells us that's what we do, therefore that's what it is, what we do. I think if we start with appreciation, so self-appreciation, really embracing who you are, mistakes and all. I was talking today, we were in a talk with a network actually down in Arbeth, and we've got a habit of like cheering on other people and saying that, you're doing a good job and you should be really proud, but we don't say it. Like, I'm really proud. When you start to say something like that, you feel, should I be saying it? Am I supposed to be saying I'm proud? But we, when we do good things, we don't celebrate those good things. We'll celebrate other people's achievements and everything else, but we're not celebrating our own.
Yeah. I love nothing more than being a cheerleader for someone else and for them to be like, yeah, you've got this, and to really help them go along it. But as you've quite rightly said, there's something about us and cheerleading ourselves. And I was talking to the Football Association of Wales. They were in the Ogie Bridge Meadow Stadium last week, and they were saying, is it a Welsh thing where we innately don't think that we're worthy of something more than what we're already getting? Like looking at the success of the football teams now, like there seems to be this strange humility in Wales that means that we're not allowed to actually cross that finish line and be fully proud and aware of our achievements. And where do you think that comes from?
Well, this is the conversation I have a lot with clients. In the schoolyard, right? If you've got a child going around going, I'm the best football player, I'm the best at netball, I'm the best at everything, everybody's like, oh. But when you've got somebody who says, I'm not very good at that, I'm terrible at kicking a ball, or I can't score a goal, or people will rally around them. So you think how young that happens, that we reject people who say they're good at things, but we embrace and welcome people who say that they're not good at things, and we'll support them. So we all there's this saying, isn't there? We like an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these sayings have become how people act in society. So we all like an underdog. So that person who's going, I'm the best, that they're big-headed, they're selfish, they're all this thing that, they're negative. But actually, can you imagine if we all did it? We don't have to do a shouting and being amazing, but we can be quietly proud of who we are. We can appreciate our achievement. I often say, like, I've done things that people say, oh my gosh, I could never have done that. And I just think, well, that's just who I am. But actually, what if I changed it and started to say, no, that is an achievement. I did a really good job there.
And once you change that narrative and you say, I did a good job there, what could that lead on to if we're not constantly trying to shrink ourselves?
Well, if we continue down that avenue of I did a good job there, so if I did a good job there, where else can I do a good job? What else am I doing well so far? Because what we've got a habit of doing is going, oh, I'm rubbish at that, I did that wrong, I made that mistake, and we happily list a load of stuff that's wrong with us, but nobody really has that list to hand of all the things we do well, because we are told, or at least shown, I suppose, that that's not respectful. It's rude, but it's not. It's to me, if you can say, and it's taken me a long time to say I'm really good at what I do, because I am good at what I do, and now I feel comfortable saying it because I know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm 50 this year, so it's a long time to learn that skill. Whereas if we taught children to be proud of the things that they achieve, to learn from mistakes, then we haven't got that pressure to be perfect. We haven't got the pressure to be the best at everything. We can just appreciate I've done a good job here. And if I want to improve, I can. If I'm happy where I'm at and I'm just going to keep doing this, great. But we are looking for the negatives constantly.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in previous shows over the years about our natural instinct to look for the negative. It keeps us safe, it keeps us warm, it keeps us away from danger. But in this day and age, is it actually helping us or is it hindering us? And Helen Morgan from the afternoon show, who's joined us as a collaborator over the last couple of months, she's put together a bit of an information pack which we're going to put on our website. And she's given this one slide here, which I'm looking at, and you just said there you're 50 this year, and it's taken you this long to be like, yeah, I'm good at what I do. This slide here, self-love isn't selfish or self-entitlement. Self-love isn't self-obsession or vanity. Self-love isn't a switch you turn on or off. It's something that takes time, commitment, and practice to cultivate. And for many, the idea of loving ourselves feels out of reach. Many of us will not love ourselves until we do something like lose weight, become fitter, get the job, or find the partner. We often put conditions on our love, but we don't actually need those conditions at all, do we?
No, not at all. I came across, somebody introduced me to Byron Katie, and she asks 4 questions. So when it comes to particularly beliefs, fears, ideas, and the 4 questions are, is it true? Can you guarantee it's true? Let me just check the exact questions. So is it true is the first one. So if you believe that you're no good at relationships, for example, we'll use that as our example. Can you absolutely know that it's true? Well, actually, I have some really great friendships. I've had relationships where they were great, but we just, at the end, we didn't work out and we're still friends. So can you absolutely know that you're not good at relationships? No, you can't. So how do you react when you believe the thought that you're not good in relationships? Well, you're quite destructive in relationships. You go in already thinking there's a dead end here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not connecting with them. You maybe have one foot out the door already just in case, because it's a safety precaution. You don't fully invest emotionally in case you get hurt. And then she asks, who would you be without the thought? Now, let's say that you've never learned that you're rubbish in relationships and that actually all the evidence points to you being amazing in relationships. Who would you be then? You would love, you would enjoy, you would give yourself completely, you would invest in the relationship, you would invest in yourself, you'd become this, I suppose, connected person who's happy, fulfilled, and doing everything to fulfill yourself and your partner.
And that's from being given that information that this is who you are.
Yes. So if you have these beliefs and these fears, I urge you to go and check out Byron Katie's 4 questions, because whatever those beliefs are, there's a narrative around those beliefs. So even if it's, oh, I can't self-love, like I can't love myself, that's really, oh my gosh, that's vanity, that's vain, I can't do that. Go and play with that. Is it actually true? Well, it's not. Self-love is a necessity. Can you guarantee it's true? Well, if it's not true, then you can't guarantee it's true. Who are you with that thought? Well, I'm hard on myself. I complain, I criticize, I judge myself, I self-punish when I do wrong. Who would you be without the thought? Free. Free to love myself, free to enjoy life, free to be whoever I am. Because currently you're restricting yourself because of all these this narrative that you've designed around self-love is selfish.
Yeah. And we get to change that, because of course we don't control our thoughts. We get to control how we react to our thoughts, and it's very easy to take something on, as you say, as gospel. It's like, oh, someone said that, therefore I am. But that's not necessarily the case. And over on Instagram, there's nothing wrong with pride so long as it's not puffed up. And then overinflated, I suppose. Do you think, what are your thoughts on leaning too far the other way, and then you become the person you're like, oh, look at that show off over there? Where's that line, Hayley?
Well, I suppose that's going to be a personal thing, isn't it? It does. I feel a little bit uncomfortable with it. However, when I see a child saying that they're good at football, or they're good at whatever it is, they're good at art, or they're good, they're a good friend, I love it. I cheer that on. I think it's amazing. And we need to hear more of it and be exposed to more of that, so it becomes less of an issue. It's a non-issue then.
Yeah. I suppose when you hear statements like that, you could almost go down that route of not getting them to justify it, and like, oh, you've just said that you're good at that, well, prove it. But you could say, to help people come to terms with, to help you, or to help them come to terms with it, is you could say, why do you say that? Not in a judgmental way, but to get them to unpick, well, actually, because I did that when my friend did that, and then I felt that way when that when that circumstance happened. And we can actually start looking at, oh, actually, yeah, this is a qualified feeling to have. This is who I am, because my actions and my thoughts are now in tandem with each other.
Yes. But we don't allow ourselves to align with everything, because we're so busy not upsetting this one, taking that one's opinion to heart. Oh, they must be right. If they are seeing it and I'm seeing it. But actually, if we take a minute to go, and I asked this question to a client this week, in 20 years' time, what will that opinion matter? What will that person matter? And actually, they really won't.
No, they won't. Over on Instagram, be true to yourself. Don't pacify people. And this is what you were getting at towards the end of our first section, looking at relationships at this time of the year with Valentine's. And you were saying, once you're true to yourself and you're not pacifying people, you're more likely to find your people.
I agree. I don't know why. I don't like the idea of find your tribe. I don't know why, right? That's just, I don't know, that term just does my head, and it's everywhere. But there is truth in it. You will attract whatever you're putting out there. And whatever's going on internally for you, you will reflect it out. And that's taken me a long time to learn that as well. And I think it's okay. It is okay to be really proud of yourself. And it is okay to sometimes be puffed up proud, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody is going to say to you, oh, you're doing a really amazing job. And you might get the occasional person, but nobody's going to build your self-esteem and love you like you can. And I think that's the key to the self-love piece, is you have to decide, today's the day I'm going to start self-love. And then it's up to you to carry that through. You can waver a bit if you like, and that will happen, because you'll do things and you think, oh no, that doesn't feel comfortable. But that's okay not to be comfortable. And the more uncomfortable you are, the easier it is to grow, believe it or not. The more comfortable you are, the harder it is to grow.
I was just going to say, like, having those we mentioned difficult conversations earlier. There is a thing about having a difficult conversation with yourself. If you can step into that uncomfortable situation and start thinking, why am I feeling uncomfortable in this situation? You're actually going to unpick what your values are. You're going to actually analyze, well, I feel this way because of action A is having an impact on B, and therefore C is the outcome. And I don't feel comfortable with that because I feel that life should be a certain way. You actually learn so much more about yourself from being in the uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. But it's uncomfortable, so people don't like being uncomfortable. It's not easy to be uncomfortable, but when you think about what you can achieve, so I've been doing I did disc profiling training a couple of years ago, and I've kind of let it slide a bit, but this year I'm back into it because the training I'm doing is all about health. But the conversation we had last night in the training was about, I've had loads of aha moments while doing the disc because I'm very adaptable. So I don't know if you've seen these personality tests out there, the psychometric test. There's loads of different ones out there, but I'm looking at the disc one in particular. But I'm in all of them. I am a high D, but I fit into DI, DS, and DC. And I can be an I on its own, I can be an S on its own, I can be a C on its own. So I think I could also be a C and an S and an S and an I. I think I am so adaptable. And what I learned last night was I don't like network, because this is something to think about. Right? If you don't like something, I used to blame it on the networking, but actually it's not about the networking. It's because I feel like I used to feel, I'm going to rephrase that. I used to feel like I had to be somebody else when I was there. I had to be more professional, or I had to be something else. And it would cause my anxiety to spike.
Mm-hmm.
So I went today and I did my pitch today. And my friend came up to me after. She went, "That is the most fluid you have been. I know what you're doing. I think you've hit the nail on the head for businesses." And I said, I felt that myself, because what I did today was, I am who I am. Take me or leave me. If you don't like me, I don't care. But this is who I am. Yeah. And it was a completely different pitch to, oh my gosh, what if they don't like me? How much do I have to prove myself? What do I need to tell them? All those things that go through your head.
Yeah.
But that's the self-appreciation, really buying into, this is who I am, love it or hate it, I'm not changing.
And what's important there is that you did that. You weren't trying to convince a whole room of people to use you. It wasn't all of a sudden the end of a movie. They were all on their feet clapping you and be like, yeah. Half the people in that room probably were like, don't get it. That's not how I work. And that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But isn't that the acceptance? So I think we've done acceptance before. So I used to think acceptance was it. You accept something or you don't. But actually, acceptance is accepting that this is the situation for now. If I want to change something, I can. If I don't want to change something, I don't have to. And if I can't change something, then I get to decide what I do next. So acceptance becomes, yes, it is what it is for now. And now I have a choice what to do about it, if I want to do anything at all.
Yeah. I was, through my experience of working with different groups of people, I've been fortunate to kind of find that out sooner rather than later, and not have to be like, oh, well, now I'm in this room, I must be this kind of person, otherwise it's going to be very difficult for me to prove that I can justifiably talk about this topic. And I used to deliver trainings on acceptance and commitment therapy. I love the topic personally, but it's essentially a PowerPoint slide because it was a way of condensing it into 4 weekly sessions. And part of my opening gambit was, some of you are going to love my delivery. I'm very animated. I'm going to maybe put voices on. I'm going to be a little bit bouncy, and I'm going to get really enthusiastic, and I'm going to be too much for some of you. Some of you are going to think, this is exactly what I need to get out of the slump that I'm in. And I was like, but both groups of you are going to hear the information. So I'm going to deliver it in the way that I know I can best portray what I'm trying to tell you. But you're going to leave thinking, oh, he's a bit much. And I was like, and that you're not going to hurt my feelings. And if you want me to change how I've described something, then please tell me. Like I lay everything out on the floor straight away. If there's something you don't understand, then tell me, because I can go very serious. But I just prefer for this topic to explain it in this way, because that's how, similar to your experience there of talking fluidly at your pitch, That's how I'm fluid. But I was like, but if that doesn't work for you and you want to really understand something, you tell me and I will change my approach for you in that moment. And then I'll go back to who I am, and I'm going to be practicing and doing the voices, then we'll go through with an ebb and a flow, because there's, at some of these sessions now we're talking 20 odd people, so we couldn't just do an itemized thing for individuals, and I feel really grateful that I knew that of myself before going into that setting. It's like, I'm not here to deliver an individual talk to 20 people. I'm here to deliver the best I can with my tools and my resources, and remind them that it's about the topic, not about me.
Yeah. Do you know, it's amazing that acceptance of who you are. And some of you like me, some of you won't. Some of you will take stuff home, some of you won't. That's reality, isn't it? That's life. You're going to come across people, and I can't remember ever thinking, oh, people don't like me. But I do know I have acted in a way and presented myself in a way that reflects that I thought people weren't going to like me for a long time, very long time. And it's probably taken, I would say, not caring whether people like me or not has taken me probably 45 years. But now I'm at a point where, say what you like, do what you like.
Yeah.
I don't mind. And I don't need to prove myself. I don't have to fit with you. Although, I'm happy to fit with you, but I don't have to bend over backwards and compromise on my stuff in order to sort of be what you need me to be. Equally, I have stuff that I need to work on. So I suppose what we can round this off tonight with, what is self-love and what does that mean, and what are the tips and tricks for self-love? Do you have your own definition, Tom, of what self-love is?
Oh gosh, do you know what? My own definition of self-love, is very much attached to what you said just a moment ago. My definition of self-love is having acceptance in myself that I've got some really great qualities, and my enthusiasm is probably one of my biggest qualities. I think my enthusiasm is what carries me through each and every day. My enthusiasm for myself and the things I'm passionate about, my enthusiasm for other people, and helping, like one of my values is helping people fulfill and exceed what they think their potential is. And my self-love is, I'm going to unapologetically be myself, to allow others to see the light that they actually are. And that will be too much for some people, but my version of self-love is that when I come across that person, I'm going to take the reaction, oh my god, I risk hurting my feelings, and then letting it go and be like, that's okay. And I'm not going to be right for everyone, but I'm not going to let that dim my view on this vibrant world that we live in. So for me, that's my version of self-love. Take the hit, but carry on being enthusiastic. And sometimes it's harder than others on different days, and depending on what you might have done. Like my bumper came off my car the other day, and it gets a bit difficult. But then you stand there and you take deep breaths and you think, well, something's going to work out. Something's going to work out. And luckily I've managed to gravitate quite very good people around me through being myself, and I take great pleasure and great warmth from that. So that's my version of self-worth, that whatever happens, I know I can still be enthusiastic and bouncy, and maybe a little bit too much for other people, because that's what gives me life. That's what gives me spark.
Yeah. Do you know, and this is I think the magic of self-love is that you get to define what it looks like to you. So we're not going to tell you tonight, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. You take the time to figure out, what does self-love mean? And for me, it's about loving who I am from the inside out. So flaws, mistakes, great things about myself, achievements, and that doesn't come easy always. I have to put a lot of effort into it. It's not about I get up every day and go, I love myself, and I need to do that maybe. But I appreciate what I've done well. I appreciate what I've done wrong, and I learn from it, rather than what I used to do was self-punish. And I think all that is around the work that I've done through depression is getting to know me, getting to know my beliefs, getting to know my values. I mean, we've mentioned all of these tonight. Getting to know who I am in a crisis, getting to know who I am at good times, getting to know who I am when I'm sad, understanding my emotional roller coaster that I'm on a regular basis. But all those things, all those things and none of those things get to define you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can take them all, or you can take them individually, and you can let them define you. But actually, if they don't suit you, they don't have to define you at all.
Yeah. And actually, before I found this revelation about who I was through ACT, and about actually this is who I am, I can be joyous, I can be enthusiastic. Before that, I was very much I would walk around defined by the things I didn't get right. So past failed relationships, oh well, I'm not that then, or I never achieved what I wanted to achieve with like music or whatever. It was like, well, I'm a failed this, I'm a failed that. And then it was so refreshing and enlightening to be like, actually, but look what I've done whilst on that journey. And over on Instagram, every day is a school day, and like we get to learn from that. We get to learn something new every day, and then we get to bring that into how we define ourselves and who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. A friend of mine, I'm going to throw another challenge out. You know, I'm like with a challenge.
Love a challenge.
A friend of mine, 2 weeks ago, he said to me, go away today and sit down and write a list of all the things you've achieved. Just go and remind yourself of all the things that you have achieved. He said, I reckon you've got a good 2 pages worth of stuff. And I've done it a couple of times on different pieces of paper, just doodling. And there's a lot of things that I have brushed past. That was just me. You know, I got my master's in my 40s. I got my teaching in my 30s. But that's just who I am. You know, somebody told me a couple of months ago, because I was sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night when it was at its worst. And when I was doing when learning was my coping mechanism, I was working full time, 4 children, 5 courses on the go. So I was doing my teaching, I was doing 5 other courses, and I was editing my book because that was my coping mechanism. And that's how I saw it. That was just a coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
But this lady said to me, not everybody does that. Like, that's not something that... And I was like, do they not? Yeah. Like, no. And she said, you helped your son overcome anxiety, and a lot of parents with depression, they could never do that. And I was like, oh, that's just who I am. And she's like, yes, it is. However, is there anything wrong in celebrating? And this is what this list of achievements is. It's about celebrating what I've achieved. And I urge everybody to sit down and do that. And don't just wash over things because you think society will frown upon you being, appreciating yourself. Really give yourself that time to appreciate all those things that you've done. And they can be big things, it can be small things. It doesn't matter. They're achievements. It's had a massive impact on how I see myself. And this is kind of part of the self-love, isn't it? It's that self-perception.
Yeah. I urge anyone who's listening to this or is watching this back to get a piece of paper and write down all the things that you've achieved, because I did a similar exercise as part of the ACT course, and it was like, goodness gracious me, we are all capable of amazing things, and we've all done amazing things, and not even relative to who we are. It was like, no, I did that, and then I did that, and then I raised them, and then I looked after that, and then I started that, and like the list, like I suppose what I'm trying to say is, don't judge the list before you write it down. Write it down first, because we're too easy to be like, well, I did do that, but it didn't go to anything. It's like, yeah, but you started that. You went out of your comfort zone to start it. You learnt all these things from going through that process, and you're using that, and you're departing that.
Sorry that they went off then. Sorry, I spoke over them. But that thing about stepping out of your comfort zone, that is huge. Even if you don't finish whatever it is, even if you don't finish it. I started a psychology degree in, I don't know, when I was in my 20s. I couldn't hack it. I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't fun, and I left. But I've gone on to do all these things now that I left school thinking I was thick because I had 2 GCSEs. So I let that define my academic belief about myself. And when I did my masters was an eye opener because I didn't think I'd be able to do that. And I did it because I thought I could learn at that stage. I didn't know whether I could learn at that level, and I did. Not for anybody else, for me.
Yeah. I love people that go back to education because we are so defined so early in our life that we are A or B. And then all of a sudden, we're like, actually, no, that is something I want to pursue. And because it's something that we want to do, a bit of the self reflection, a bit of values, we can actually do it. It just wasn't the right time. It didn't work. Like some people know me more as a performer on stage than they do for the radio. I was first on stage at the age of 25, and I was up against people that had been doing it since they were like 3 years old. I was not ready to go on stage younger in my life. Like I actually count my lucky stars that I always had that desire to do it, but having 25 years experience was where I felt most comfortable doing it. And it was hideous overcoming that uncomfortableness that we've been talking about and be like, what, I'm going to actually go to a 10-week course. I'm actually going to audition for something. But overcoming it, be like, oh, I did it. Ooh. But then being able to use 25 years of experience of my life to portray into characters. And I think if I was to do it any sooner, I didn't have great self-esteem in school growing up. I didn't have great social skills. I was a very good listener, but I wasn't necessarily a good person to reflect the world that we were in. Whereas now, give me a script and I feel that you give me any script and I feel like I can portray it in a way that'll be of interest. And I thank that I came to it later than sooner. And that's now part of my self-love. I can storytell. And if you need someone to listen to you and to provide an independent ear, then that's something that I'm proud of. And that forms part of my self-love again, is that everything has happened at the right time.
And that is key, isn't it? I think the timing is everything. You're not going to get everything at the same time. Excuse me. You might be introduced to something 20 times before it clicks, and that's okay. You might hear something for the first time and it clicks, and that's okay. I think we have all these expectations, these standards, these perceptions of what it should be like, what we should be doing, how we should be doing it, when actually, is any of it true?
Is any of it true? You've just hit a big old question there when it comes to self-love and understanding who you are. Is any of it really true? And I suppose we're talking about relationships with ourselves here, and we've really dug deep in, I feel, into self-love. And once we've understood the timing of our life, once we've understood why we operate in a certain way, why we're a certain way, whilst we shout about how good we are at certain things and completely stay quiet around other things, once we know those, and once we can communicate those thoughts with ourselves, then we can start communicating with other people. And if you are someone looking for a relationship, knowing yourself and knowing where you get your energy, and me talking earlier, where you get your enthusiasm for, then when you do, or if you get into a relationship, because you might not want one, knowing what your reset point is so super important, to link it back to the first topic we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. And life is yours to define however you want to. Relationships are yours to define however you want to. Self-love is yours to define. Happiness is yours to define. And I think those are the things that I think are form part of the wider self-love. If I understand what happiness means, then I can achieve it. If I don't, or I am going by somebody else's definition of happiness, I'll never reach it. I'll never achieve it, because that's not mine.
had a comment come in, and it starts off with, so the poem was, how do you love yourself? That's essentially what we're talking about here. And the first line is, I find it very hard. I find it hard to love myself, but when I'm there for others, that's when I feel worthy of the others, and then that helps me love myself. So when I'm in service to other people, but to those, Hayley, that might be watching this and or listening to this, and their first response is, I find it very hard. What hints and tips? We've already given the list. We've given the list as an option that someone can do. What other things can we do to help us realize that actually we do already have it, and it's something that we can practice regularly?
I think the first thing to realize is that it's a choice, right? So it's a choice whether you give yourself permission to love yourself, or it's a choice to not give yourself permission to love yourself. Now, if you decide either one, maybe more than not, why not? What is stopping you from loving yourself? And I'm pretty sure most people will have a list of things, reasons, excuses that they can't love themselves. But there will be things that you are avoiding or ignoring that would definitely be cases of self-love. So there'll be things you're doing. I often get told by people, I'm a terrible friend. But then they'll say, like, oh, well, my friend's on the phone to me till 10 o'clock last night, and I phoned them again this morning because I knew their husband left. And I'm like, that's a good friend. Like, that's not a bad person. Or they'll say things like, I don't deserve happiness. But what is it that makes you believe that you don't deserve happiness? Well, I haven't been a good person because I haven't had a relationship, or, I left my family home when I was 16 and I never went back. That doesn't make you somebody to dislike or to hate. Actually, there's a strength, as we were saying earlier, but is it true? There's a strength in a child of 16 leaving home and going to find their own feet. Mm-hmm. There's a strength in not being caught in relationships that are not right for you. There's a strength in being in a relationship that maybe hasn't worked for you, but you've had to survive. There's a strength in surviving it. And yet what we look for and what we identify are weaknesses. So it's all about giving yourself permission. Start with giving yourself permission. It's okay to love yourself. You don't have to tell anybody. Don't even have to show anybody, but you will eventually, because it'll be lovely, because people will see it in your face. Give yourself permission. Go and find the reasons why. Look for the reasons why to love yourself. Don't look for the reasons why not, because you'll find whatever you're looking for. Whatever that is, you will find it. So give yourself reasons to love yourself. And there will be lots of reasons that you have whitewashed over for a long time and completely ignored. But they are there. And if you can bring yourself to write those down, and the achievements we talked about, and the achievements can be as good as, I get up out of bed even when it's hard. For some people, that's an amazing achievement. For other people, it's not. But we're not comparing. If that's what's good for you, great. And I think the third thing I would be doing is tell yourself every single day, I'm a good person. I'm good with animals. I'm good with people. I'm good at my job. Whatever it is, whatever that sentence is, even I love my job or I love people, that will change things as well. I don't know if you've ever seen have you ever seen the emotion spiral, where they have the higher emotions on the top, then it narrows and then it goes out to the lower vibrational ones at the bottom?
Yeah, I think I have seen that one.
So the highest energy vibration is love and joy. Those are the kind of at the top. And then you've got things like gratitude. I'm having to think on my feet. Love, joy, gratitude, passion, excitement. There's those kinds of emotions that will bring a different energy. And when you start to let yourself let yourself enjoy those emotions attached to those good experiences, then your energy levels lift as well. So if you're struggling with your energy levels, this is a good exercise to help your energy levels lift as well as your emotional levels.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So don't judge yourself too harshly. Keep your eyes peeled on the things you are doing really well, and let your values kind of guide you as to actually that's important to me. So I'm going to spend a bit more time actually pursuing that and acknowledging it. And you mentioned there affirmations were all the rage about 5-10 years ago. But if you can look at yourself and be like, I am worthy of this and I'm worthy of that in the mirror, whatever works for you. It actually it is beneficial, isn't it? There's actually been studies on it. If you tell yourself positive things and don't look for the negative, that we do feel lifted.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're attracted to the negatives. But whatever you look for, you'll find. If you remember that, look for the positives. There'll be progress where you don't see progress. Because if you're looking for progress, you'll see it.
Yeah. And in fact, what I'm gauging from this listener, they're looking at it. There seems to be lots of observations. So I love I love this certain thing, and then when I'm part of that, I then love myself. So it's more of a reflection. But actually, what they need to appreciate is that they're not just watching; they're actually part of it. So if you're already part of it and you're taking those good characteristics, then you're already on that path.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it funny how we view things, how we perceive things? And when
Yeah.
somebody looks at it from a different perspective, they see different things. So just because you're saying it doesn't make it true either. Just because you might be saying, I'm sitting on the outside putting in, actually, what I'm seeing is you're part and parcel of that. You're empowering other people, you're empowering yourself. It's we're very, I don't know, what's the word? We get on a track and we stay on that track, don't we? And sometimes it's not the right track. Just because
Yeah.
you're on it doesn't mean you might be going in the right direction, but it's not necessarily the right. I was told once, you're on the right train, but you're not going, you're on the right direction, but you're not on the right train.
Right.
And I've recently jumped off that train and got onto the next train, and it feels so much better.
Oh, that must feel quite nice.
Yes. So if you feel like you think you know, I don't think you do. Be a little bit curious. Ask
Yeah.
some more questions. I love a good question. We know I love a good question. Any different questions? If we could do a whole show on questions. That may be a good show, actually. I love a good question. And if you stop asking why and start asking how, what, when, where. So, for example, if you say, why am I like this? What makes me believe that that's who I am? Different question. And it will get you a different answer.
Yeah. We just had an answer come in. You're right. Wow, I didn't think of it like that. So hopefully we've just set some enlightenment and some alarm bells ringing that oh yes, like that is me. And if we've done that tonight for one person, then I'm overjoyed. We're coming to the end. It's nearly 11 o'clock, Hayley. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about, for the last nearly hour now, we've talked about a really important relationship, the one with ourself. If you want to see a rude joke, head on over to Facebook so you can have a little chuckle before you go to bed. With thanks to thanks over to there on the Facebook page. Big thanks to Instagram. We've had George with us, who's been commenting. Thank you for being part of the conversation here this evening. And very quickly, I don't know if this was deliberate or not, but Hayley, 2 minutes to talk about the challenge that you set us, which was finding the balance. How have you got on?
Actually, I haven't been so bad as I thought
Okay.
I would be. I spent January really pinned down on my business, focusing on my business, streamlining things and doing all that sort of stuff. And I learned this week, using those 4 questions, I learned that my values, one of my business values and one of my parenting values conflicts. And so one of my parenting values is to be the best parent, to always be available, to always be reliable for the kids. They know that if they've got problems, they can come to me at any point in time. But that hasn't allowed me to grow my business in the way that I wanted to. So there's been a conflict I didn't recognize. So that has been a huge revelation this week. But I've been trying more to balance the children. And I mean, my children are older, but it's still that desire for me to be that reliable parent. So I can't say I've struggled with it, but I'm still not where I want to be or what I think I could be with it.
Okay. But that was the point of the challenge, wasn't it? It wasn't to come up with an answer. It was to come up with to shine a light on, oh, here's where I am. And now I can look at putting a framework in place and actually reassess. As you say, your children are older now. Maybe it's not quite the same as it was before. So that's really interesting. I'm very similar to you, Hayley, in the sense that I had everything teed up because we both had quite good Decembers. You had all that uninterrupted time because the routine didn't exist. I had a similar time. I was on call. There was still lots of hours going on. And then January came, and January felt like the longest month ever to get kind of ducks in a row. I had a week off, and everything felt fine. And then all of a sudden, taking this show full circle, February has come along, and now I don't feel like I've got time for anything whatsoever.
I think I've fallen off the wagon a bit in February as well. However, I haven't put as much time aside to do the business stuff as I had last month. And maybe I don't need to, I don't know. But I've done more networking. So here's something that maybe we didn't consider last time with this challenge was, what does balance mean to us?
Of course, yes, because we've got different benchmarks to our friends and neighbours.
Yes, but also, do we understand? So what am I balancing? Am I balancing? Oh, that's another one. I hadn't even thought of that one. That's a new question tonight.
Yeah, I know. Uh-oh.
Am I really balancing my children and the business, or am I balancing my emotions attached to those things? Oh, that's a big question.
That is a big question, because I was going to jump down that thing of, are you still holding on to the youth of your children?
I think things are changing, yes. And I think I'm not struggling with it. I'm trying to go with it. You know, I'm trying to see, because my daughter's going to university in September. She's had 5 conditional offers. My son's going to college, the youngest one. The 2 boys have just got new jobs. So everything is changing for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow, that is a big question. So that's my next challenge, Tom.
Yeah. We'll have to tune in to the Healthy Minds, Better Lives next month. Let's have a quick look. It's the second Thursday of every month. It'll be the 13th of March that we'll be back here again. I haven't got our crib sheet ahead of us. But off the top of your head, do you know what we'll be looking at next month?
Oh no, and I've closed it down now.
Oh heck. Let's have a quick little look. So you know what you're getting yourself in for.
Yeah. If you just want to be a no company, you can just come and be a no company too.
That's true, but no, we do like to have a little think about what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, we'll certainly be sharing it on social media. And as ever, if you do have any questions that you want to pose to us, then please do get in touch. That email again is studio@purewestradio.com. And yeah, we would love to hear from you.
I've got the list if you want to hear what we're going to be talking about next month.
Go for it.
Have social well-being, so loneliness, connection and community. The social model of support for mental health.
Wherever you are.
So getting to sort of use your local networks, your local community hubs and those kinds of things, and creating a safe space.
There you have it, which
So
I
those
think
are things
actually
we want.
flows really well off this topic of self-love. So we'll give her a little reminder of that in the month preceding. And yeah, if you have any questions, that email again once more, it's studio@purewestradio.com. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening on Healthy Minds, Better Lives. I've been Tom Dyer. I'm back on your breakfast show tomorrow morning. Feel Good Friday. on Valentine's. So I'm assuming we're looking for some empowerment songs to do with love. However, you interpret that. I'm not going to judge. You might just want a nice feel-good track. That's what we're here for. And you've been Hayley T. Wheeler. Where can we find you, Hayley?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, probably anywhere. If you put Hayley T. Wheeler in the internet, I come up.
I love that. Oh, in fact, we need to talk about your new bits and pieces. We haven't had an opportunity to discuss that, so we need to get that on the show as well coming up.
Yeah, well, we talk about that next month, should we?
They will talk about that next month. I'll be back again here tomorrow morning. Feel Good Friday, Valentine's Day. But for now, we're signing off with a song that's got a lovely title of I Had Some Help, because we can all help ourselves. Although the lyrics don't necessarily reflect a positivity of helping oneself. But never mind. It's a nice, catchy tune anyway. Hayley, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.